Hello students. Today I am going to take a geography lesson, second lesson, that is Indian geography. You know, India is a big country and it is also known as the subcontinent. You know, India, why India is called subcontinent? Because it is surrounded by water on three sides and one side land. So it is called as a subcontinent. And India, it has a wide variety of landforms. They include mountains, plateaus, valleys, then glaciers, coastal plains. So variety of landforms are there in our country. They have influence on the river system, climate, natural vegetation, land use, agriculture, transport, distribution of population. All these varieties of landforms influence all type of activities like the Indian river system. Then the climate, you know, the climate, it also varies from region to region. You know, there is a variety of climate found in our country. You know, North India, there is a different type of climate. In South, it is a different climate. East and West. So, variety of climatic condition is there. At the same time, natural vegetation also varies. It also changes from region to region. At the same time, that land use, it also varies because to the western side of India, the western side, you know, western Ghats are there, eastern side, eastern Ghats are there, and to the northern side India, it has covered with the mountains, that is Himalayan mountains. So the land use is also varies from area to area, region to region. At the same time, agriculture, you know, the practice of agriculture, it also varies from region to region. And that transport, distribution of population is also depends upon the geographical conditions, the geographical division. You know, for example, the northern Great Plains have a large number of population because about 40% of people are living in the northern plain. It is because of the availability of water, then flat land and fertile land and good water, good transportation and communication system. 40% of population is living in the northern plains. Like, and the geographical divisions of our country are the northern mountains, the northern Great Plains, the peninsular plateau, then coastal plains. These are the four important physical divisions of India. The northern mountains, they comprise of the Himalayas. They are the Himalayas. They comprise the Himalayas, which have a group of young fold mountains. They are the young fold mountains. They are not ancient. They are the young fold mountains. They extend as a continuous chain to along the northern boundary of India. They are the highest mountain peaks in the world, and they have highest peaks, deep valleys, gorges, passes, etc. They are the highest mountain peaks in the world, and they also include, they have the highest mountain peaks are there. The northern mountain, highest mountain peaks are there. Then gorges are there, deep valleys are there, gorges, glaciers and passes, etc. are there in the northern mountains. In India, they extend from Indus Gorge in the west, to Brahmaputra Gorge in the east. That is the extent of Himalayas in our country, and with the extent of 2,400 kilometers. In India, they extended how much? 2,400 kilometers from the Indus Gorge in the west to Brahmaputra Gorge in the east. So they have 2,400 kilometers, and width varies from 240 to 320 kilometers. Width of the mountains, width of the Himalayan mountains is 240 to 320 kilometers. Here the border on the west, it is broader in the west, and it is narrower in the east. Toward the east it becomes narrow, and towards the west it is broader. They covered an area of about 5 lakh square kilometers. These mountains, Himalayan mountain covers an area of 5 lakh square kilometers, and they consist of 3 parallel ranges. Northern mountains consist 3 parallel ranges. They are the Greater Himalayas, then Lesser Himalayas, and the foothills. These are the 3 parallel ranges of the Himalayan mountain. The Greater Himalayas, they are the innermost part of the Himalayas, continuous and highest ranges. They are the continuous and the highest mountain ranges. The average height of the range is 6,100 kilometers. These ranges have many high peaks, of which Mount Everest is the highest peak in the world. Mount Everest, which is the highest mountain peak in the world, with a height of 8,848 meters. Then others like Kanchenjunga with a height of 8,559 meters, and Makulu 8,481 meters. Dhaulagiri is there, and Manaslu and Nanda Devi, etc. are the highest mountain peaks of the Greater Himalayas. The Greater Himalayas are covered with the snow. You know, these Himalayas, the Greater Himalaya, which is covered with snow throughout the year, these ranges are called as Himadri. Because of this only, they are called as Himadri, because they covered with the snow. So they are called as Himadri. They are home of many glaciers. You know, many glaciers are there, and these are the birthplace. These are the origin of the rivers. Here, such as the Gangotri glacier is there, Yamunotri glacier, Gangotri glacier, where the Ganges, river Ganges rises, and Yamunotri glacier, where river Yamuna rises. So many glaciers are there in the northern Himalayas, Greater Himalayas, and there are many passes like Barsil, Jilipla and Sipkila. These are the passes along the northern mountains of the Greater Himalayas. The mountains have the northwest, lying to the northwest of the Himadri, called as Trans-Himalayas. They are called as Trans-Himalayas because they are lying to the northwest of the Himalayas. So they are called as Trans-Himalayas. They comprise of the Karakoram range, which the highest peak, K2 or Mount Godwin Austen, is located. Here K2 or Mount Godwin Austen is located, and it is the highest peak in the country. K2 or Mount Godwin Austen, which is the highest mountain peak in India, whereas Mount Everest, which is the highest mountain peak in the world. Mount Everest is highest in the world, and K2 or Mount Godwin Austen, which is the highest mountain peak in India. Here, now the second, that lesser Himalayas, the second parallel ranges of the greater Himalaya is the lesser Himalayas. It is the second parallel range of the northern mountains. These ranges are located to the south of the greater Himalayas, to the south of the greater Himalayas and to the north of the foothills. There are the lesser Himalayas. These Himalayas with their extended 8 kilometers wide and 1,500 to 4,500 meters height. The height of the mountain is how much? 1,500 meters to 4,500 meters, and they are 60 to 80 kilometers wide. 60 to 80 kilometers wide and 1,500 to 4,500 meters high. The eastern part is covered with the forest. Here, the eastern part of the lesser Himalaya is covered with the forest, and there are many parallel ranges in the lesser Himalayas. For example, Pir Panjal. Pir Panjal is the range of the lesser Himalayas. Then Dhaulagiri, Nagtibba, Masuri, Mahabharat and Darjeeling ranges. These are the parallel ranges of the lesser Himalayas. They contain many valleys like Kashmir Valley is there, Kangra Valley is there, Kulu Valley. So like many valleys are there in the lesser Himalayas. They are also noted for hill stations. Lesser Himalaya, it is noted for hill station. Here like Shimla hill station is there, Ranikhet, Masuri, Nainital, Darjeeling. These are the hill stations of the lesser Himalayas. Now the third parallel range of the northern mountain is the foothills or the Shivaliks. They are outermost ranges of the foot or the outermost ranges or foothills located to the south of the main Himalayas. They are located to the extreme south of the northern mountains or the Himalayas. Therefore, they are known as the outer Himalayas. These are the outer Himalayas because these are the extreme south of the Himalayas. So they are called as the outer Himalayas. They are the lowest range of the Himalayas with a height of 600 to 1,500 meters. Their height varies from 600 to 1,500 meters and width varying 15 to 150 kilometers. Width of the outer Himalayas, width of the Shivaliks is how much? 15 kilometers to 150 kilometers, which extend from Jammu and Kashmir in the west to Himachal Pradesh in the east. Jammu and Kashmir in the west to Himachal Pradesh in the east. It is the extent of the foothills or the outer Himalayas. They have a flat bottom. They have a flat bottom. In some places, they have flat bottom. Then structured valleys. Structured valleys are there, which are noted or known as the dunes, or dunes, which are noted or which are known as the dunes because they are the structured valleys which are known as the dunes. For example, Dehradun. Dehradun is there in the outer Himalayas. So the importance of the Himalayas. The Himalayas are the natural frontiers and prevent the foreign invasion. the Himalayas, because the northern border area is fully covered with the snow-capped mountain ranges. So it protects our country from the foreigners, from the foreign invasions. They prevent cold winds which are blowing from the Central Asia and obstruct the rain-bearing wind. They also obstruct, they stop the rain-bearing winds. So the Himalaya, it has the highest mountain range. Here the Himalayan region, it gets heavy rainfall due to the mountains, due to the northern mountains, because northern mountains, they stop, they check the rain-bearing winds and causes heavy rainfall. Now thirdly, their slopes have thick forest and are ideal for the plantation crops. You know, the valleys, the slopes have a thick forest. The slope of the mountain is a very thick forest and it helps for the plantation of crops. For example, many tea plantations are there, tea in Assam. And they are the storehouse of minerals. It is the storehouse of minerals because variety of minerals. It is a rich in mineral resource. The northern mountain is rich in mineral resource. Variety of mineral resources are found in the northern mountains. So it is called as the storehouse of a variety of minerals and also birthplace of many rivers. Many rivers rise on the northern mountains and waterfalls are there and it is helpful for the generation of hydroelectric power and it is also home of many animal life. It is flora, that is fauna. So it is variety of flora is there, variety of fauna is there. It is also a home of many wild animals. It is the importance of the Himalayas. Now the northern Great Plains, they lie between the Himalayas and the peninsular plateau of India. Northern mountains, they are between, they are located between the northern mountains and the plateau of peninsular India in the south. It is formed by the depositional work of a river system, namely Satluj, Ganges and Brahmaputra. How the northern plains are formed? They are formed from the depositional work of three important river systems like the Satluj river, Ganges river and river Brahmaputra. They brought down along with them that fine mud and the northern plains are formed. It is the largest alluvial soil tract. The northern Great Plains is a largest alluvial soil flat in the world, extending east to west, a length of 2,500 kilometers. The extent of the northern plain is how much? 2,500 kilometers from east to the west. The average width varies from 240 kilometers to 340 kilometers. It is the width of the Great Plains. It covers an area of about 7 lakh square kilometers. The plain is formed from the fertile alluvium deposited by the river. So that plain is formed by the fertile soil deposited by the rivers. And the plain is flat and rock are not exposed on the surface. You know that plain is very flat and rocks are not exposed on the surface. No rocks are found on the surface of the land. Means very alluvium soil or fertile soil is there. No rocks are found on the surface of the land in the northern Great Plains. Here the northern Great Plains is suitable for agriculture because it is suitable for the agriculture because it has a fertile alluvium soil and it is a fertile tract in the world. So here agriculture is the main occupation of the people, and agriculture is the perennial, as it is a perennial river and vast fertile alluvial soil. Here it is suitable for irrigation and agriculture because it has a flat land, so there is a good network of the irrigation system and there is a flat alluvium soil is there. It also helps for the development of agriculture. Its flat land supports the network of good road system, railway system, means of communication, etc. They are useful for the industrialization. They are not only helpful for the development of agriculture but also development of industries, then urbanization and the trade. A number of pilgrim centers also there in the northern Great Plains. So because of the suitable climatic condition, flat land and availability of water, transport, communication, it is the densely populated region in the country. About 40% of population is living in the northern plains. Now the peninsular plateau, the third physical division of India is peninsular plateau. This is the largest physical division and is also the oldest landmass, which is the largest as well as the oldest landmass in the country. It has been a part of Gondwana age. It is a part of the Gondwana age. Its ancient age lies to the south of the Great Plateau and occupies about 60 lakh square kilometers. 16 lakh square kilometer is the extent of the peninsular plateau. It is roughly triangular in shape. That is triangular in shape. The peninsular plateau, how it is? It is triangular in shape because it is in the southern part of India. So it is triangular in shape and its apex is formed by the Cape Kanyakumari in the south extremely. It extended up to Cape Kanyakumari in the south. It is bounded by many hills and plateaus like Aravali Hills and Vindhya, Satpuras, Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, Chota Nagpur ranges, Deccan Plateau and the Malwa Plateau. It is the geographical feature of the peninsular plateau because it is covered by all these mountain ranges like the Aravali and Vindhya mountains. Aravali and Vindhya mountains to the north-western part of India. Aravali and Vindhyas and Satpuras are to the northwest of India and Western Ghats are there to the west of the peninsular plateau and Eastern Ghats to the eastern side of the peninsular plateau. Chota Nagpur to the northeast and Deccan Plateau and Malwa Plateau are the boundaries, frontiers of the peninsular plateau. Now Aravali ranges, the oldest fold mountains. These are the oldest fold mountains. Lies northwestern side. Guru Shikhar is the highest peak on the Abu Hills of the Aravalli range. Guru Shikhar, its height is 1772 meters, is the highest peak on the Abu Hills, Abu Mountains on the Aravalli range. Then Vindhya range flanks the northern edge of the Narmada Valley. It flanks on the northern edge of the Narmada Valley. The Satpura range runs in an east-west direction south of the Vindhyas. That is the Satpura mountain. It runs in the east-west direction, east-western direction of the south of the Vindhyas, between the Narmada and Tapi river. Between Narmada and Tapi river, that Satpura mountains are there. You know, the Tapi river and the Narmada river. Between these two rivers, that the Satpura mountains are there. Now the Western Ghats are the continuous ranges running parallel on the west coast of India, from Tapi Valley to Kanyakumari. From river Tapi Valley to Kanyakumari, Western Ghats are there. They are also known as Sahyadris. These are called as Sahyadri ranges. They are steep on the west and gentle in the eastern side. On the western side, they are very steep, and to the western side, they are gentle. Borghat, Talghat, Palghat are the important passes across the Western Ghats. These are the ways on the mountains, you know, Talghat, Borghat and Palghat are the mountain passes on the Western Ghats. South of the Palghat gap, Western Ghat continue as Annamalai. Here the Palghat gap, the south of the Palghat gap, the Western Ghats continue as Annamalai and Palani and Cardamom hills. Annamudi and Annaimalai hills is the highest peak in the South India. Here Annaimalai, which is the highest mountain peak in South India, which is in the western range. Now the Deccan Plateau, the eastern Ghats, they run along almost parallel to the east coast of India. These Ghats, they run parallel to the east coast of India. They extend from the Mahanadi Valley in the north towards the Nilgiri Hills in the south. From Mahanadi in the north to the Nilgiri Hills is the extent of the eastern Ghats. They are lower than the Western Ghats. The Eastern Ghats are lower, whereas Western Ghats, they are very tall. They are tall and continuous. But the Western Ghats, they are smaller and they are not continuous, because they are cut by the many fast flowing rivers and valleys. So they are not continuous and taller like the Western Ghats. They are lower than the Western Ghats and not continuous. The highest peak in the Eastern Ghat is the Armakonda. Armakonda, which is the highest mountain. It is the highest peak in the Eastern Ghat, and in the Western Ghat, highest mountain peak is that Annai Malai. Annai Malai, which is the highest mountain peak in the Western Ghat, and Armakonda, which is the highest mountain peak in the Eastern Ghat. Now the Deccan Plateau is bounded by Satpura and Vindhya in the northwestern part of India. That is the Deccan Plateau. Deccan Plateau, it is bounded by which ranges here? These are the Satpura and Vindhya mountain ranges. The Western Ghat in the west and Eastern Ghat in the east, and the Mahadev and Maikala ranges in the north are the boundaries or the geographical boundaries of the Deccan Plateau. Chota Nagpur Plateau lies in the northeastern part of the peninsular India, peninsular plateau. Now the importance of the peninsular plateau, it is rich in minerals. The peninsular plateau, it is very rich in the mineral resources, because a variety of mineral resources, all type of mineral resources are found in the peninsular plateau of India, and thick forest and biodiversity. It has a thick forest and biodiversity is also there in the plateau. It has influence southwest monsoons, and it is covered with black soil, which is useful for the agriculture. It also influences the Deccan Plateau.